Hetepu, Assalamu alaikum, Namaste, Huru Nefer. This is Kasankma Keparu with another broadcast for you. In this broadcast, we're going to talk about the missing secret to activating your God power. But before I do that, I want you to hit the like button on this video. If this is your first time to my channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications on when I go live or when I upload recorded videos. And we have free ebooks that you can download today and start reading more on my spiritual teachings. Just click the links below. If you're not already a member, please consider becoming a supporter of ours on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1 or $20 per month. You get exclusive access to content that'll take you deeper down the rabbit hole in terms of learning to meditate, how to work with various different oracles, how to invoke spirits, how to work with hypnosis or hypnotherapy. So just look below for the link to become a Patreon supporter. Lastly, this video is going to be based on my program, which is titled Reality Manifestation Program. So once you kind of get like a teaser from this video here or this broadcast, then go and look into the full-blown program that will take you all the way down the rabbit hole so you can start changing your life for the better. So hetepu to all of you out there, and I just want to make sure that my audio is coming through okay. Great. Okay. So, it was interesting. I was talking to a young lady today, and there is you could put your finger on this pulse where you can see how certain things are being interjected into our culture. Some good, some bad, but it's very important that we're vigilant and we understand what's going on because the ruling elite, this is their area of expertise, which is creating culture, directing how the world will unfold in 50 to 100 years. And what I'm seeing is that everything is going according to their plan because we fall susceptible to this. And, there is myself and many others who are out there actively warning people about this, but still we're falling for it. I had a discussion with a young woman the other day, and she kept saying how she's a god. And I said, well, no, you're not a god, you're a goddess. And you don't just get that title. There are certain things or prerequisites to bestowing a title upon you. And in our community, we are just very superficial in terms of our thinking, and we're throwing away titles like king, queen, god, goddess, or god. And the idea of a woman taking on the title of God is just one way that the ruling elite is trying to effeminize males by taking the position of leadership, the male principle from you, and then placing that or bestowing that upon the woman by calling her a god. I said, no, you're a goddess. So let's get that straight. And then I went on further to say, well, if you think, and she was very adamant that she was a god. I said, well, then excuse me, sir, I didn't realize I was talking to a man. I said, she has to understand how she uses her pronouns. And then she went further on to try and school me on Ma'at. So there is just a lot of ridiculousness going on out there from people who are not priests or priestesses, and they're trying to teach people. And what they're doing is perverting the religion, perverting the ideas of what our ancestors left behind. And consequently, it gets people nowhere. So I don't walk around, which I could, calling myself a Shechem. That is a title that's bestowed upon a pharaoh or someone who has gained a level of power on the Sekert level. I don't like it when people refer to me as king. You have to have a kingdom to be a king. So let's just get some things straight on there. All right. So before we go a little crazy with all of these titles, which are just basically meaningless, because what's really important is the work that you're doing. If you come and you have coffee with me or tea with me, I'm not walking around in a priest outfit with an ankh in my hand. I'm just normal everyday dress, because those are just, they don't really speak to the knowledge base that a person has. My high priest, who was actually a king, never walked around in any type of priest garment or African garment. He just wore regular clothing. Sometimes he had a suit. So I want you to understand that the reason that you're getting these titles is because you've actually done the work. You're exploring, you're working hard, and you have a certain level of power that comes with that. And if you can exercise that power and demonstrate that you're proficient at it, then you become a Shechem on that level of Sekert. Sekert is the grand witch, the high priestess. Also, she comes in the form of Ptah, the mason. But again, we really don't understand these things. So consequently, we run around and we start calling each other, hello, my king, hello, my queen. It's just, please don't do that, okay? Because our ancestors, whether it be Hatshepsut, the great queen, Akhenaten, Amenhotep, they were royalty that were born into that lineage. They earned that right to be called Shechem, Pharaoh, king. If you just throw a title around, it really doesn't become, it has no meaning to it, you know? So I wanted to just say that before we go any further, because you have to demonstrate that this information is impacting your life in a very positive way. And the way to do that is that you have become proficient in manipulating reality. If you were to come meet me and I'm living in a cardboard box in some alleyway, then you know that I'm a charlatan. What I'm teaching you doesn't work, because obviously if I'm living in a cardboard box, there's a problem. And it's unfortunate that many of the elders that I did learn from at one time are now attaching themselves to this younger generation who are nothing but thugs and criminals using the Kemetic religion as a hustle. And it's really saddening to see these elders, because they know that these guys are no good. They're not on the right path. But because these young guys have a big following, these elders want to attach themselves to them to gain that audience. But that audience is of like mind. So what are you getting? You're not really getting anything. You see, what I do is light work. I'm a light worker. I'm not going to be working in darkness. I'm not going to be invoking demons and things of that nature. I'm going to work on the side of the light, work on Ma'at in everything that I do. And my work demonstrates that. Now, with that said, let us pray to Jesus, our Savior. Okay, I'm just kidding. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. All right. Now, as a magi, as a magician, you have to be proficient with manipulating reality. You also have to know what works and what doesn't work. And it's taken me years to kind of refine these things and working it. Now, I'll be honest with you, some things that came naturally to me, like hypnosis. I just had a natural talent to put people into a state of trance, and I was able to manipulate them into doing things. Luckily, I was awake to know that that's not really the right path you want to go on. So I never really used it to do that, to manipulate people, but I did have that skill and still have that skill. So I say that to say this. I'm very good at discerning what works and what doesn't work. And I'm going to talk about that right here and now so that you get an understanding. Many people will jump into these different programs called the law of attraction, reality transurfing, the secret. And when they do it, they become disheartened because they find it doesn't work. Well, those things do work. However, those practitioners of those different techniques, or those authors, or those so-called gurus, really are just doing what we call the transfer of information. And I talked about this in the previous video about how our educational system is messed up. It is based on left brain thinking, which is merely regurgitation of information. So someone comes along, for example, Imhotep, a multi-genius. He puts down in writing all of the wonderful things that he's discovered and he's invented, such as the step pyramid. All right. And then he relays that to one person who relays it to another person who relays it to another person. Well, at that point, it's merely a transfer of information. Those individuals don't think like Imhotep. Their mindset is nowhere aligned as to him, because he has activated certain synaptic connections in his brain that give him access to the Akashic records to download very advanced knowledge and information. So the goal of the education system or the higher learning institutions should be to activate those psychic centers within you so that you can open the gates to the Akashic records. But they don't do that. All they master is the transfer of information and the regurgitation of information. You see? So when you're learning these things, reality transurfing, law of attraction from these individuals, what you're learning is passing on of information, passing on of information. But you're really not learning and discovering how these things work and why they, more important, why they don't work. So let me explain a little bit about that. And in theory, they all should work. But there are certain prerequisites that these so-called gurus, scholars, or teachers aren't aware of because they've never really done the work on their own to validate it. When I was learning, I learned from one gentleman, multimillionaire. I traveled to San Diego to learn and be under him personally. And I remember when he would teach me these techniques, and I would come up with my own techniques, and he would say, "Is it field tested?" I said, "What do you mean it's field tested?" He says, "Have you gone out there and used it yourself to prove that it works?" I go, "Oh, no, 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 no." He says, "Then there's nothing. I don't want to hear about it. Come back to me when it's field tested." I said, "Okay, great. That is the test of something. When you do something to validate that it works for you." And right now, many of these techniques that are being published in books and videos, and they talk about this, talk about that, they're not field tested, they're not validated. They're just a transfer of information. Because in theory, it sounds good, but in application is totally different. Do you understand? The application is totally different. One of the things I learned about hypnosis, when I would go out there, I could put a girl into a state of trance fairly quickly and then kind of manipulate her emotions and manipulate her into like liking me more or being seduced by me. But when I would show those very same techniques to other guys, they couldn't duplicate that. And then that's when I kind of learned there were nuances to what I was doing that they weren't picking up. So there's a lot of detail that's missed. And those nuances are very, very important. What I'm going to reveal to you now is the missing secret that most of these programs have failed to tell you. Now, this comes straight out of my program, Reality Manifestation. And it's just one thing you'll learn if you come into that program, one thing among many things, but it's also a very important thing to learn. Because it, when I was working on this on my own, I couldn't get the secret to work. I couldn't get the law of attraction to work. I couldn't figure it out, what's going on. And I was a very passionate person. And then through studying the occult, African voodoo, Santeria, I started to put the pieces together and start to realize why these things don't work and why they do. You know, and a lot of what the Christians practice comes directly out of the ancient Kemetic system of reality manipulation. When they talk about faith, when they talk about possessing the Holy Ghost, when we talk about speaking in tongues, you see, one of the most, well, let me say it this way. The most important aspect of all these techniques, which they should have told you, and this is not the secret, I'm just going to give you another bit of information here that will help you. But one of the most important things that none of these techniques reveal to you is the importance of trance state. That is the end all and be all of being able to manipulate reality. If you're not effective enough, if you can't go into trance, you can forget about it. But the good news is you go into trance all the time when you're daydreaming, when you're kind of like falling asleep. You're going into trance. This is why when you look and you go back into antiquity and you do research, you'll find one commonality among all the ancient religions or the ancient cultures. Let's not say religions, the ancient cultures, because they practice spirituality. One common thread through all of them that they all practice trance state in one form or another. And the Christians, they do it too. When they say, I remember my mother taking me to Um, the first Christian, uh, one of my first experiences in the church scared the shit out of me because I'm sitting there and I'm seeing these old ladies getting up, dancing around, praising Jesus, saying they're full of the Holy Ghost. And I was like, I mean, that really scared the hell out of me. I didn't know what was going on. And years later, I realized that they were going into trance. You understand? Same way when you have really the more orthodox and traditional form of Southern Baptist is that they have the snake, and then the preacher will have the snake in his hand, and he'll put the snake into a trance where the snake won't hurt him. And that's a way of transferring of information, or transferring of state, as we call it. So to hypnotize the snake and to get the snake into a trance state, you have to first be in that state. First law, the law is that state is transferable. Whatever state you in, you can transfer that to other people. And whatever you want them to feel, or if you want whatever you want them to do, you first have to be in that emotional mindset first, and then transfer that energy to the other person. This is why you're not responsible for your thoughts, because thoughts float out there in the ether, and then you're a receiver. You pick up on those thoughts. This is psychic communication. So the prerequisite to manipulating the 4D world around you is trance state. You have to be in trance first. Trance is the right hemisphere of the brain. The right hemisphere of the brain is the gateway to the 5D realm. What is the 5D realm, Magi's? Put that in the chat box. All of you Magi's need to know what the 5D realm is. Put it in the chat box. Very simple. What is 5D? You know 4D is, right? 4D is the existence, the realm that we live in now. It's 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. Space and time are not separate. They're together. They're known as space-time, linear space-time. What is the 5D realm? And you can sum that up into one word. As we go along, but the real secret is not just trance, though. That's important, but let's take it a bit further, all right? Because I can get into trance and still not get what I want. And let me share this secret with all of you. Your ideas, your beliefs, your thoughts are constantly changing, constantly changing. They're never fixed. Therefore, you marry someone and things are, let me give you just a little bit of my personal background. I have 2 wives. They're very beautiful. They're young though. They're younger than me, okay? Very, very young. And it was challenging dealing with the age difference and challenging dealing with things that they were going through, so I could relate to that. But what you begin to understand is that if I am in a state and I'm going into trance and I visualize the way I want them to behave and act, then they will align and attune to that, because they are projections of my consciousness. Reality doesn't exist apart from the observer. They are avatars. Do they really exist? Yes, in a different space-time continuum. I have made an agreement with their real selves to recreate them as avatars in this realm, to have an experience with them. But they do really exist in a different realm. But in this realm, this 4D realm, they are Maya. They're just an illusion. So I have a bit of say in how they act, what they think. And I also created them as sentient beings. They are autonomous. It means that they do things on their own. Now, I talked about your belief system constantly changes. So one of them is doing things that I'm like, why is she doing this? It really annoys me that she's doing this. What you begin to realize at that point is, and let me state a little bit more on that. Let me put a little more icing on that. She never used to do that before. Why is she doing that now? And it's very annoying to my person. What you begin to realize is because your belief system changed and because she does not really exist, there's a symbiotic connection between you and her, or me and her. I say it that way. So when my belief system changed, she changed accordingly. And she acts differently now because my belief system changed. Because this realm, this 4D realm, is dynamic. It's constantly changing, it's constantly adapting to you, the person. You must realize and understand that. This is why I gave the analogy, which is true. Archaeologists who go and they're digging in these excavations to find things that they want to discover. But what you don't realize is that whatever it is that they believe that they should find, they will find because it will manifest in accordance with their expectations. And we have to be very careful of that because reality is a mirror. It's going to reflect back to you what you are thinking about, what you desire, and what you want. If I say, well, I believe that our ancestors in antiquity were very advanced, the more I dig in these excavations, the more evidence I'm going to find of a very advanced culture. That's how the matrix works. That's how this whole reality works. Now, going back to what I was saying about what is 5D. 5D is what we call as the singularity. 5D is there is no space and time. Everything is one. In fact, if you were to exist in 5D, the minute you think of something, it would appear instantaneously. There's no time lag, so it's there automatically. So Magi's, remember that. Keep that in mind, because that's a very powerful notion. The idea that when you get into 5D, everything appears. All right. Now, the missing secret. We talked about trance. Now we get to separate those who are very effective at this technique of manipulating reality and those who are not effective. And I'm going to give you this little secret, and you're going to say, wow, that it? Really? That's it? Remember what I said previously is that it's the nuances that are important. And if you miss those, the technique will not be effective. All right. And the best way I can illustrate this is by telling the story so you can get it. Two scenarios here. You paying attention, Rob Seckert? Paying attention. Mo Hetepu, how are you, Hetepu? Beautiful me wellness. Namaste. Namaste. Glad you're here. Michael Hetep. Hetep. Hetep, Nikki. Hetep. Everybody's giving Nikki all this attention. Why are you giving her attention? I'm here. All right. You got it now, Nikki? You remember now? It's singularity, the singularity. All right. Two scenarios here. Oh, yeah, that's a good point you bring up, JMO. Remember Interstellar, the black hole, he could go to anywhere. And that was because the beings that created that library were fifth dimensional beings. And you're absolutely right, because he was in 5D realm. He remember, JMO, remember, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a very good point that I'm going to kind of stay with, okay? Because your statement is a great opportunity for me to really like hit home on something that we need to understand. In Interstellar, he was in 5D, so he, like you said, you're right. He could go anywhere in time, in space, in time, wherever. But remember, when you're in 5D, you're not going anywhere. There's nowhere to go. Remember, there's no space. Everything is one. That's why we call it the singularity. So he wanted to go where his daughter was, in her bedroom. He was already there. He wanted to go to Mars. He's already there. You get what I'm saying? So we have to get out of that limited thinking that you actually are traveling somewhere when you're not. When you're in 5D, everything is one. You're already there. No place to go. Everything is existing at the exact same time. So good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So two scenarios here. First scenario, and this is coming out of the traditional, the secret reality transurfing. Well, not reality transurfing, because they actually corrected that in reality transurfing. That's Vin Dielam's book, Reality Transurfing. He is a quantum physicist, and he kind of corrected this notion, which he was right in doing so. Because up until that point, law of attraction, the secret, we're teaching that if you want something to manifest in your life, you focused on the end result. See yourself with the very thing you desire, which is true. But what we found out was that many people were not manifesting anything. So there was a problem. So along come reality transurfing, and he said that, listen, the problem is that you are focusing too much on the end result. The subconscious mind doesn't work that way. And you probably hear a lot of other people, like Oprah will talk about putting up a vision board of, like, if you want a house, you put the house, pictures of the house on your wall. If you want a car, you put the picture of the car at your desk. But that is the end result. And there is a side effect that could happen if you do that. And do you know what the side effect is? If you are looking at the end result, say for example, I always wanted the Batmobile, or the car from the Back to the Future, the DeLorean. If I am constantly envisioning that and putting up pictures of the DeLorean, the side effect is I could manifest that for someone else. You know, if I'm not doing this properly, I could manifest that and have someone else get it. So what Vadim Zeland was talking about in reality transurfing, that it's important that you visualize the actual process of you getting it. That's what's missing. The actual process of you getting it, from maybe going and applying for the car loan, or maybe your uncle leaves you a bunch of money to where you could buy that house, and then you visualize yourself going to the realtor, putting the down payment on the house, getting the house. All of those things have to lead up to the final outcome, the vision of you getting the thing that you desire. And that's what reality transurfing changed the game. When he published that in his book, people had testimonies of where they were actually working, but there was still something missing. Still something missing. This is the issue which we call the freedom from outcome. Too many people were too tied to the result. In other words, they tied their joy and happiness up in acquiring the actual thing. And if they didn't acquire it, they would feel a sense of loss, and disappointment. It's very important that that you have freedom from outcome. And what that is that you don't care if you get it or you don't get it, but you enjoy the process nonetheless. Okay. Now let me get on to the secret here. All right. The uh, the secret to activating your power. When you place too much importance on something, when you wrap your expectations and your hopes and your dreams up in something, then you inadvertently put it out of your reach because you now think it, on a subconscious level it's unattainable. You've done the reverse of what you were trying to achieve. And I often give the example of uh, a handsome man like me, and women think, oh, I could never get him, but I'll meditate and I'll see myself being with a man like Kasank. And if you are really invested in that to the point of you feel that you're not going to be happy until you get into a relationship with the ideal man, then you've placed too much importance. Now you've put it out of your reach. And in his book, Reality Transurfing, um, Vadim talks about the pendulum effect. You're placing too much energy, and then it's going to swing back at you, and it's not going to manifest. Here's the other scenario, and this is what works, and this is the secret to activating your power. Let me give you this example. If I want to be a famous actor in movies, maybe I'm see myself in the next Avengers movie, the next Iron Man movie, you know, the next Rocky movie, Rocky 29 or whatever. The conventional thinking says, see yourself in the theater at the premiere of your movie. But we already talked about that's not effective. So you have to see yourself going on auditions, getting roles, getting in films, and then leading up to that one big film where you're the star of it, and you'll see yourself at the premiere. Great. Now, there's still something missing from that. And here's the secret to activating your power. When you are doing that visualization, you must embody the feeling as if this is normal for you. In other words, so if I'm an actor and I want to be in that breakthrough film, maybe where I get an Oscar for my role. Of course, I will see myself getting an Oscar. That's the end result, but you don't want that to be just your visualization or what Reality Transurfing calls your slide. You have to see yourself working up to that process, but more importantly, you have to trick the mind and convince yourself that not only is it happening in the present, that's what you should be thinking about, that when you visualize this stuff, it's happening in the present, not the future. Because 5D, there is no time and space. Remember that. But you have to convince yourself that this life that you are visualizing and experiencing is the norm for you. This is your life. Oh yeah, I'm got another film. Spielberg just wants me to be in his next film. So my agent is drawing up the paperwork. We're going to negotiate the salary tomorrow and then be on set in 2 weeks. You have to incorporate the idea that this is normal. This will alleviate the idea of placing too much importance on it and then pushing it out of you getting it. Because remember, when you place so much importance on something, then you do the exact opposite of what you're trying to achieve. You push it out of the realm of possibility for you. But if you are operating on the notion that this is your normal life, this is normal for you, then what it communicates to the subconscious mind, it's incongruence. There's a conflict there, and the subconscious mind has to resolve it. Because you're looking at the reality before you which is not what you're envisioning. So the mind says something's not right here. There's two diametrically opposing things going on. 4D realm, he, she is imagining, 4D realm, he, she is living a certain way. In their subconscious mind, they're visualizing something else. Which one is going to be the dominant reality that you will experience? It all depends on your belief system. If you truly believe that this is happening in the now moment, this is normal for you, then the indwelling intelligence within you, Osir, manifests that reality. See, you don't have to manifest anything that's going on right now because it's normal to you. So you manifest these things very easily. But some of us have a hard time manifesting things that we desire because we don't think we're entitled to it, or we don't think we can get it, or we don't think that this technique works. So you have to convince yourself this is the norm for me. This is how I roll. This is what I'm about. In the same way, if you want to be a multimillionaire, you have to convince yourself that you're already a millionaire, and you have to feel it as if it's in a now moment and accept it as the norm for you. Through repetition, it will slowly start to manifest. But the key is to keep it going, to keep visualizing, and to become immersed in that world to the point of where you negate the 4D realm. Right now, you are commanding your spirit to manifest the 4D realm that you see before you. Realistically, the ruling elite, the Illuminati, is manifesting the 4D realm. It's tricking you into manifesting that 4D realm through vibrational frequencies, through subliminal messages in advertising. They're tricking you to manifest this 4D realm, but that's a discussion for another video. But now you have to flip the script. When we were in priesthood, we had this saying, it's my reality and everyone else is just a guest. What is your reality? You have to ask yourself that question. What is your reality? Because I'll tell you one thing, this 4D realm is damn sure not my reality. There is an infinite number of possible realities, an infinite number of parallel realities. You get to select which one you'll experience based on your belief system. More importantly, based off what you believe is the norm for you, what you believe you deserve. That's the secret to activating your power. If you go throughout your day and visualizing this stuff as some extraordinary, great new life for you, you're not going to get it. You now put it out the realm of possibilities because now you're treating it as if it's something different, odd, consequently difficult to attract, difficult to manifest. But when you look upon it as who you are, and you refuse to accept the present reality, then the subconscious mind or the spirit has no choice but to manifest the one that you are visualizing on a day-to-day basis. Whatever you do, do not say, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. Remember, 5D, no space, no time. The only thing that exists is that now moment, this now moment. So experience it in your mind as if this is who you are today, right here, right now. Get wrapped up in it. Have fun with it. See yourself on the set. See yourself talking to Robert De Niro. The next thing that's going to happen is what we call, and you all know, is synchronicity. You're going to see signs and symbols that are going to communicate to you that now it's starting to manifest. That's when you turn the heat up. That's when you embellish it even more. You get wrapped up into it even more. And I like to use that term, but it's not correct, but it's a good way to use it. You have to trick your mind into believing that this is your life. Because we have been so indoctrinated into this corrupt system, this corrupt world, that this 4D reality that we see before us that we didn't want, we didn't ask for, it's now cemented into our subconscious mind. And it's very difficult to purge ourselves of this. Very difficult. So you first get into the trance state. There's no way in the world that you can convince yourself or trick your mind into believing that you're a famous actor or you have this extraordinary house if you don't go into trance first. Because anything that is told to you while you're in a trance state, you instantly believe it. You're highly susceptible to suggestion while in the trance state. So the mere fact that you are repeating this technique over and over again puts you into the trance state. Your goal is to keep the visualization going. Don't allow it to become stale, meaning don't just envision the one scenario and keep doing that, because then it's not going to be exciting anymore. Change it up. Instead of Robert De Niro, say you meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. But keep that visualization going. Keep it going. Keep it going. This is normal for me. This is how I roll. This is what I'm about. This is nothing extraordinary. I get movie roles like this all the time. I remember when I manifested something really, really big once. And this is how it went. That's right, Mike. It's excess potential. Exactly. You don't, that's yeah, you're exactly right. So I remember when I was working on manifesting this thing, and I worked hard. And it was about me getting hired to direct this really big movie, right? So I got the job. And I remember when we wrapped production, they had a production party. And I was just sitting there chilling. And they're like, Hassan, aren't you excited? Aren't you like really like elated that you've accomplished all this? You should be happy. I said, in my mind, I already accomplished it. I already did this. So having it happen in the 4D realm is nothing extraordinary for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get that point? It's almost as if, which is true, reality is conscious and it's awake and it's interacting with you. And the language that it understands is not verbal commands. I want that car. I want to be in a big multi-million-dollar movie with Johnny Depp. It doesn't understand those verbal commands. It doesn't. It only understands emotions, which emotions are really frequency. So it understands frequency. What is the dominant frequency you're operating at? That's what this reality is looking for, or the consciousness is looking for? Which one is stronger? Now, here's another thing you have to keep in mind, and this throws a lot of people off, but don't allow it to get to you. I have clients who come to me. They say, Kasaka, I've been visualizing exactly what you have said about this promotion I wanted. And they announced it on Thursday, and I did not get it. What have I been doing wrong? Now, we call this the echo effect. Now, what reality is doing is it's asking you, what reality do you want? The one that you've been envisioning or the 4D? See, when the promotion was given to somebody else, if you respond to that emotionally, then what you're communicating is that I want this reality to stay. If you reject that reality and still focus on your objective and what you want, you put a clear message that I am not validating this reality. I reject this reality, and I'm still focused on this desire. Do you see? And that's the crossroad. That is very, very important because this will be the test. I told you that reality is interactive. It's working with you and through you. And it's very important that you do not recognize and accept the 4D reality that's before you as the norm. And when that crossroad comes up or that echo effect, it's important that you don't have an emotional reaction to it. Because if you do, you're going to delay you getting the thing that you desire. You're just going to delay it. You won't keep it from ever manifesting it. It's going to take longer for it to come. For example, if I'm trying to, this hypothetical, I'm trying to get my mate to do something, right? And I'm meditating, I'm seeing her doing it, I come home one day and she does the exact opposite, and it really upsets me. If I react to that, I've just communicated that I want her to stay the same. I don't want anything to change. If when it happens, you're cool about it and you just go with your visualization, then reality goes, oh, wait, she doesn't want this reality anymore. Let me discard it. Because you have channeled your chi energy into what you have been visualizing. Therefore, that becomes a dominant frequency from which you're operating out of. And then that manifests like that. Does that make sense? And these are the nuances that people are missing. So you just can't throw a picture up on the wall and say, I want that car, and see yourself driving a car and think it manifests like that. It doesn't, it could happen, but no, that's not. There's a process to this. Now the main thing is that you become immersed in the process. Lose yourself in the visualization. When I'm working on manifesting something, I enjoy the visualization. It's not work for me. It's not tedious. I truly enjoy doing the exercise because I meditate for 4 or 5 hours straight with no problem. And then when I come out of it, what seems real to me was when I was in meditation. That the 4D realm, I'm like, whoa, what is this? This is not real. This is why people, when I work with them and I put them in a state of hypnosis, and I tell them that the thing they want they already have, it manifests quicker for them. Anytime you work with a hypnotherapist or somebody who can put you in trance and feed you those suggestions, it always works quicker than when you're doing it on your own. When you're working on your own, it takes more time, just so you have that background understanding. So I've given you a lot of information here to start working on. That is absolutely right. We're already in 5D. You're absolutely right. Boy, you Magis, you're on point today. I like that. All right. You guys have been doing your homework. Yeah. So get an opportunity, go to Engineer Your Reality, where the program is an ongoing program. Very, very inexpensive. Like I said, I kind of want to make sure you guys get a lot for jumping in the program. And let's see if I can bring that up. I want to share my screen with you guys so you guys can see it. So here we are. This is the program here, Engineer Your Reality. And I've included here, like I said, the great thing about this is I've included the trance mastery hypnosis in this so they can become more effective. This is where I work with you on a one-on-one basis, and I put you in a trance state and convince you that the very thing that you want, you already have, and that makes it manifest quicker. Okay? So please go here, sign up if you're ready to take that next step. And I know that you guys, some of you guys may have challenges when it comes to paying for certain things. I understand that. I can work with you guys if you want, if you sincerely have some financial challenges, because hey, man, we're all here to become the likeness of God, and it's not easy. that's a tall order. You understand what I'm saying? So as I said, if you need help, I definitely will work with you. Sorry, I'm going through. I'm just looking at see if there's any final questions here. Okay, J Mo, thank you, much appreciated. And don't forget, you guys, when you get opportunity, please donate to the channel. It will be appreciated. So thank you all for tuning in today for this broadcast. And I really want to, one of the things I did a reading on, and I went to God to ask God this question, as a magician, what will my field of expertise be? Because I really wanted to know, like, what would I be focusing on? Because, people who are occultists, spiritualists, and that teach others, they all have a certain particular area of their expertise. And the oracles told me, you're going to be one who's going to be an expert in reality manifestation. And I was like, awesome, because I love doing it. I love manifesting new realities, and showing people what is possible. Because you know what? You can do so many wondrous things, and you're not tapped into that, and you don't realize it yet. So I want you to take that journey. I want you to start. Don't just use these sessions for intellectual information. It's good to like that you're gathering information, you're learning, but again, the ultimate goal is to be a powerful magician, to be able to work wonders in your life and to demonstrate that to other people. So thank you for tuning in. This is Kasak Maha Keparu, son of Ma'at and Tahuti. Ma'at is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until the next broadcast, I'm in Ra.